Cod Sinclair back again with another episode of Referee's Discretion. This week we're taking a look at WWE Summerslam 2010, taking place at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. This show can be found on the WWE Network. The opening hype video for this event is centered around the landscape of the WWE changing and the main event between Team WWE, led by John Cena, and Team Nexus, led by Season 1 NXT winner Wade Barrett. Pyro goes off and we are introduced to our announced team for the evening. That is Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and Matt Striker. I'm going to get this out of the way right now instead of mentioning it every time a match comes up or something idiotic is said by one of these guys. This announced team is unbearable. And this was the staple during the time was Cole and King were the predominant two. And then for a while it was Matt Striker. For a little while it was Booker T, maybe JBL. But regardless of who the third wheel was, more than half of the time, they don't even talk about the action going on in the ring. It's frustrating to watch after last week's ECW Heatwave that we covered here on Referee's Discretion. Joey Styles and Shane Douglas killed it, and their commentary was miles better than what you're going to see here in this event. Intercontinental Championship match to kick off here, SummerSlam 2010, as Dolph Ziggler, the champion, with Vicky Guerrero facing off against Kofi Kingston. Video shown from 2 weeks ago on SmackDown where Dolph wins the Intercontinental Championship from Kofi with some help from Vicky. Teddy Long makes this matchup on the previous episode of SmackDown, and according to commentary, he ruined Dolph and Vicky's vacation plans. Who cares? This is wrestling. Anyway, to the match. Kofi is very aggressive to start, clotheslines Dolph to the outside, goes for a suicide dive. Vicky pulls Dolph out of the way. Kofi eats all of it. Head eats the floor. Just a nasty bump. Dolph takes control though. A lot of groundwork to keep Kofi grounded. Kofi does find his second win though, getting his comeback about halfway through the match. And strange looking Luthez press followed by a boom drop by Kofi. Kofi does a crossbody. Dolph rolls through. They exchange some near falls. Both men work to a vertical base. Kofi in the corner. Dolph runs at him and misses. Kofi, huge axe handle. Kofi goes for trouble in paradise. Dolph ducks and locks in his sleeper, which was his finisher at the time. Just as Kofi starts to fade, here come the Nexus out of the crowd. Michael Cole is going absolutely ballistic to the point where it's cringeworthy. The Nexus lay waste to both Dolph and Kofi, and they render this a no contest. Dolph is still your IC champion. This gets a half count from me. Grading just the match, because if I graded the match and the run-in, I would probably give it a 1. But the half count, it wasn't great. It was a little boring, to be honest. Not what I was expecting from these two going into the match. Also, it's better to watch this match on mute. King makes a lot of inappropriate Vicky Guerrero weight jokes, which if you've seen her on any recent episodes of AEW, she looks tremendous for her age. But all that aside, it was a clean match. Maybe only one slip up or two, and then the Luthez press. But it wasn't great. If I were counting the post match, I probably would have given it a 1 count. But I will leave it as a half a count to start SummerSlam. We're backstage now, and Chris Jericho and Edge, who are 2 of the 6 current members of Team WWE, are trying to convince The Miz to be the 7th member. we'll get to more of who's on the team, who's off the team later in the review. But at this time, The Miz is not only the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, but he is also the current United States champion. Miz looks at his briefcase, he looks at his title, and he says he doesn't know if he sees the Nexus as a priority right now. And then just walks away. Perfect segue, I guess, into the WWE Divas Championship match between challenger Melina and champion Alicia Fox. On the go-home episode of Raw, Melina scored a non-title victory over Alicia Fox. Melina comes out, huge pop from the Los Angeles crowd. Not sure if it was added in post or not. They do make note, though, they being commentary, that Melina vacated the Divas title due to her knee injury, so she didn't really lose it. Starting the match, a lot of stare downs, lockdowns. Melina's offense is predominantly forearms, elbows, kicks. At one point, she gets Foxy laid across the middle ropes in the corner, gives her a double knee to the midsection. For some reason, the way that Alicia Fox sells this, she's selling as if she got hit in the face. And she's saying that she can't see. Her knees were not close to her face at all. And it was a very soft looking bump. But obviously she's playing possum. She charges Melina. Melina gives her a flapjack for all of her trouble. Both women are now on the apron. Alicia pulls Melina into the turnbuckle, hits her shoulder really hard. That's where Alicia Fox starts to focus more on Melina's shoulder. Melina catches Fox and rolls her up for a near fall. The worst looking dropkick on this show from Melina, and which leads King to say that she lets out her primal scream, which it's just her regular scream that she's always done. So nothing special. Melina hits a variation of a skull-crushing finale to get the win. Post-match, Josh Matthews into the ring, asking Melina how she's feeling being the new WWE Divas champion, only to be interrupted by Lay Cool, the co-women's champions right now over on SmackDown, Layla and Michelle McCool. They say that they didn't have an opportunity to have a match tonight, so they're going to share the spotlight. Lay Cool just healing it up here. Tries to take a selfie with Melina. She fights back, and Lay Cool really just put the beat down on her. Alicia Fox joins in at the end. Honestly, it was a super annoying segment. This was a countout for me. One grade lower than the worst grade that you can receive here on Referee's Discretion. We don't grade the pre-match and the post-match. We just react to it here on Referee's Discretion. But just grading the match itself and talking about the match, I am so thankful for women's professional wrestling today. I know that probably pre-2015, women's wrestling wasn't always the priority, but this was an absolute train wreck to watch. It was not entertaining, not captivating. It was bad, and I'll leave it at that. Commentary team talking about Rey Mysterio beating CM Punk and Punk having his head shaved. Punk then started wearing a mask until the Big Show a few weeks ago on SmackDown pulled the mask off of CM Punk. Kind of a lead into this match. It is a 3-on-1 handicap match. It is the Big Show versus the Straight Edge Society. That is CM Punk, Luke Gallows, and Joseph Mercury. And their valet at the time was Serena Deeb, just going by Serena. Punk on his way to the ring with the Straight Edge Society with the shirt that says, I broke Big Show's hand. The week following the unmasking of CM Punk, they got Big Show's hand on the steel steps. They all held him down, and CM Punk put the boots to Big Show's hand. Big Show out to the ring, though, with some tape or some kind of cloth brace on his right hand or wrist. Before the match starts, though, Show calls for the ringside medic to cut the tape off of him, showing the Straight Edge Society that he is fully healed and ready to go. For most of this match, CM Punk just stays in the corner, sending Mercury and Gallows to his dirty work. To start, Big Show just chucks Mercury and Gallows out of the ring. Big Show palms Mercury's head back into the ring, only to throw him back outside onto Gallows. Punk still cowering in the corner, though, clutching the tag rope. Serena gets on the ring apron, causes a slight distraction, so CM Punk can get the upper hand, but it does not work. Show chops CM Punk, and he powders out immediately. All men on the outside. Punk does like a thrust to Big Show's throat. Gets his hand on the ring steps, going to break his hand again, but Show pulls his hand out of the way and sweeps Punk back first onto the steel steps. Great spot here by Punk. Show goes for a chop on CM Punk, but he rolls, and Show slaps the steel steps and injures his hand again. Straight Edge Society get the upper hand here and start to gang up on him. Big Show is in the corner now. Splash from Mercury, followed by a splash from Gallows. Punk goes for the trifecta, and Show counters with a big elbow. Show with a shoulder tackle to Mercury and Gallows, sends them both out of the ring. Punk goes for a springboard clothesline. Slow catches him for a choke slam, but Punk kicks him in the head. Amazing feat of athleticism from Punk. 3 running knees in the corner to Show, and this is on par with the drop kick from the Divas Championship match. It was a double bulldog onto the Big Show from CM Punk and Joey Mercury. It was so bad. So bad, poorly timed, didn't look good, didn't connect. But anyway, Big Show has Punk on his shoulders, Mercury by the throat. Gallows kicks Show, and Show drops Punk onto the floor. Serena goes to CM Punk's aid, and then they just leave. Typical heel move though. Typical faction warfare there. The head of the faction just done, ready to fight another battle another day. But they both leave. Gallows still laying on the mat. Big Show choke slams Mercury onto Luke Gallows and gets the pin for the win. I'm giving this a half count. I understand the story. The story was meh. The Bulldog spot was unforgivable, though. Joey Mercury, a veteran guy. CM Punk, definitely a veteran guy at this point. Luke Gallows was definitely underused in this match, I feel like. I feel like there could have been some good stuff between him and Show, being as Big LG was the big guy in the Straight Edge Society. But nothing cohesive here. It didn't feel like the match got the flow that they wanted. And it just wasn't something that I was into. Cut to Kane in the back, who is by a casket, saying that he will get revenge for what Rey Mysterio has done to The Undertaker. This has been a storyline going on for a few weeks now, going into about a couple months, where Kane found his brother, The Undertaker, in a vegetative state and was now trying to find who his attacker was. Couple weeks into this storyline, Kane said The Undertaker told him 2 words, and it was his attacker It was Rey Mysterio. A wild Sheamus appears and says the casket is too big for Rey, but big enough for his opponent later this evening, Randy Orton. Sheamus says, just as St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland, he will drive the Viper out of the WWE. Here we are in 2020, and oh boy, how wrong he was. Segue to the announce desk. Cole telling us that the WWE Championship match is next, only to be cut off by The Miz. Miz comes down to the ring, doesn't care what the fans think. He says that John Cena got on his knees. Bret Hart gave him his moniker of being the excellence of execution. Chris Jericho gave him a Fozzy CD. John Morrison finally admitted that he was the Jannetty and that Miz was the Shawn Michaels, just better. Said Edge gave him a year's supply of Slim Jims, and R-Truth even wrote him a crappy rap, all to get him to be the 7th member of Team WWE. Miz says the only question left now is, will he join Team WWE? To which he responds, yes. He will be the hero the WWE deserves, and he is awesome. Remember this. This is about a 10-plus minute segment with The Miz in the middle of the ring by himself on a pay-per-view on one of the big four. Okay? Just remember this moment in time. To when we get to the end of this pay-per-view, you will realize why this segment was absolutely awful. Hype packages played for the WWE Championship match. A triple threat match was held on Raw to decide Sheamus' opponent between Edge, Chris Jericho, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton does his Randy Orton thing, RKO here, RKO there, gets the win, and that is where we are tonight. It is also mentioned very frequently that Sheamus is the first Irish-born WWE champion in history. And here we go. I forgot how much I loved Sheamus' old theme. It fit his heel character so well. His theme now is fine. I feel like when he came back from injury, though, last year, before his mini feud with Chad Gable, because I refuse to call him Shorty G. I feel like this is the theme he should have come back with. It would have given the older fans a little bit of nostalgia, and it would have been definitely imposing for the newer talent hanging around the locker room. A very strange dynamic, though, in this match. With Randy Orton working as a face. He works so much better as a heel. But with most of the top card guys in the main event, I guess Orton had to be put in this position. It's interesting notes here right before the bell rings about the match. If there's any outside interference on Sheamus' behalf, then that person would be suspended indefinitely. This was made because Sheamus actually won the WWE Championship due to interference from the Nexus. So the Raw GM took it upon themselves to add the stipulation to the match. On the other hand, though, if Randy Orton loses, he will never challenge for the WWE Championship again while Sheamus is still champion. A good amount of posturing to start the match, as Cole puts it. Orton starting out with a power game, 2 big clotheslines in the ring, 1 to the outside. Commentary mentions how Orton's temper and hot-headedness may cost him in this match. Every time Orton's on the outside, though, keeping an eye on the ref's count, making sure he's getting back in the ring in due time. Orton now changing gears, taking now a more methodical approach. A lot of stomps and ground attack. Typical Randy Orton offense. Onto the outside, though, now. Orton whips Sheamus into a barricade, then goes for an Irish whip into the steel steps, but it's reversed by Sheamus. And then he lets out a fella. Back in the ring, though, now, it's Sheamus' turn to go to the Randy Orton School of Power and Grappling game. The crowd is dead for the first part of this match, and so was I. It does get a little better. Orton goes for his draping DDT on from the second rope, but Sheamus counters and a big back body drop onto the outside. Back in the ring, though, double axe handle to the chest of Randy Orton and a near fall. Back to the ground game for Sheamus. But Orton does fight back. Sheamus reverses, though, with a drop toe hold to the second turnbuckle and a reverse DDT into his knee. A couple of near falls and Sheamus starts to get frustrated. Sheamus then with a headlock for, no kidding, almost a minute. Orton starting to hulk up. Huge back body drop. We get our first vintage Vintage call from Michael Cole. Michael Cole was very famous during this time period. Vintage. Insert wrestler's name here. Orton does his backbreaker, gets a near fall. Dueling punches now in the middle of the ring. Get a cheer and a boo chant from the crowd. Orton gets the upper hand, though, and a big power slam onto Sheamus. Sheamus trying to recover on the apron after a shoulder first into the ring post. Orton pulls him to the top rope and a big superplex spot here for a near fall. Sheamus with a Uranagi backbreaker for a near fall. Sheamus setting up for the bro kick, but Orton gets out of the way and Sheamus tumbles to the outside. Sheamus getting back in the ring. Orton this time catches him with the draping DDT. Orton goes for the RKO, and Cole says he hits it, but Sheamus clearly reversed it and threw him directly across the ring. Not sure what Cole was looking at. But Sheamus setting up for the Irish Curse, which at this point was just a fancy term for the Razor's Edge. It does get countered, though. Orton goes for the RKO and it gets countered. And finally, Sheamus hits the brogue kick. 1, 2, near fall. Sheamus is stunned. Crowd, a small pop to get him back into the match. Sheamus is done. He goes to the outside to grab a steel chair. The ref tries to stop him by grabbing the other end of the chair. But when Sheamus pulls the chair away, he sends the ref to the outside, disqualifying Sheamus, which means Randy Orton wins. However, Sheamus is still the WWE champion. Post-match, though, Sheamus still with the chair, swings and misses, and Orton takes him to Dick Kick City. Orton teases the chair, but then pulls Sheamus out of the ring and starts to take apart the announce desk. Orton then RKO's Sheamus onto the table, not through it. Orton is declared the winner, and his music hits, but right after he gets to the back, his music cuts, and Josh Roberts then comes and says that Sheamus is still the WWE champion. Strange finish there. I'll give this match a 1 count. The story really didn't have much of a build to it, but I think the competitors did as well as they could with it. I do think the finish was a little screwy, but we should have seen it coming with the stipulation that Orton couldn't challenge for the title again if Sheamus was champion. I feel like that is always what happens in these situations. So-and-so can't challenge for the title if you lose. You know that something screwy is coming. But honestly, it was a typical Randy Orton match. I mean, it was fine. Randy Orton hitting the big superplex spot. That was unexpected. And this was only 10 years ago. But still, to think that Randy Orton's still trucking away is a detriment is not a detriment to the sport. And I think that having a veteran guy like Randy Orton still around says something to the love that he has for the sport. But as far as the match goes, a couple of good spots, continues the feud, but nothing exciting. Here we go, hype package for the World Heavyweight Championship. Video shows Kane winning the Money in the Bank contract and cashing in on Rey Mysterio the same night. He says he didn't do it for himself, but for The Undertaker. Can't help but get some Rikishi Rock Stone Cold vibes here. But Kane said it's to bring the title back to the dark side. Like I said earlier, though, the storyline here is that someone attacked The Undertaker, putting him in a vegetative state. Kane said The Undertaker said his attacker was Rey Mysterio, but Rey said he didn't do it, but then that famous line, "It was you, Kane." Kane has said since then that he is going to put Rey in a casket and send him to hell after their match this evening. So here we go. Rey Mysterio challenging Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship. Rey out first, followed by Kane wheeling the casket to the ring. Power game from Kane at first. Speed game for Rey. Rey drop kicks Kane's knee, setting him up for a 619. This is a constant visual you'll get throughout the match is Rey kicking the legs out from underneath of Kane, going for a 619, and the odds are not in his favor to connect. But in this instance, Kane throws Rey out of the ring, but Rey does this cool little roll and then lands on his feet. Pretty awesome spot there. Kane chases him, Rey's back in the ring, and then gives Kane a seated senton. Back in the ring we go. Kane grabs Rey and slides him into the bottom of the ring post, abs first, and then follows up with a baseball slide. Cool looking spot there. Outside the ring, Kane is ramming Rey's back into the ring post. Always a good heel move from a big guy. Power game in full effect now. Kane has a bear hug locked in. Rey does get out, but then Irish whips himself back into another bear hug. Rey gets out again, gives Kane a head scissor into the second rope, setting up for the 619. Kane with a big clothesline for the counter and the near fall. Kane throws Rey out of the ring again. This time you can hear the splat as Rey falls to the ground. Rey Mysterio trying to get back into the ring. He's on the apron, tries to springboard back in, but Kane gives him a big boot, and down he drops to the floor. Rey now with a drop toe hold against the barricade. Rey to the top rope, jumps at Kane, and it almost looks like a shoulder tackle, but Rey leads with his head. Kind of a unique spot there. Kane with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a near fall. Follows it with another big backbreaker. Rey escapes, and Kane hits a big sidewalk slam for another near fall. Kane to the top rope now. Rey crotches him, goes for a Hurricane Rana. Kane throws him off, and another splat. Rey avoids a top rope clothesline, though, and hits a tilt-a-whirl reverse DDT. Rey getting his second win here. It's a seated senton followed by a tilt-a-whirl DDT for a near fall. Springboard leg drop to the back of Kane's neck for another near fall. Rey to the top rope, jumps at Kane, and a big old right hand. Kane opens the casket, goes for a choke slam. Rey avoids, though, drop kicks Kane's knees for a 619 attempt, but Kane catches and throws Rey right into the casket. Rey kicks Kane, hits a springboard drop kick, goes for another 619. Kane grabs Rey for a choke slam, counters into a head scissor into the second rope, and this time Rey hits the 619. The amount of times that Rey takes his opponent's knees out for a 619 attempt is just crazy. But anyway, Ray goes for a springboard splash to finish it off. Kane gets the feet and knees up. Ray avoids but turns it into a cover for a near fall. Very unique spot here and a very different way to get the pin. Or for a pin attempt, excuse me. Match not over as both men are back to a vertical base. Kane with a big boot follows up with a choke slam for the win. Post-match though, Kane goes to put Ray in the casket. Ray counters, closes the lid, and hits Ray with 2 big choke slams. Kane hits Ray with a huge tombstone, going to drag him over to the casket, opens it up, and the Undertaker is in the casket. Taker gets Ray cornered and asks him why he did it. Taker looks and sounds pretty bad here. Probably trying to sell the fact that he was in a vegetative state. Ray says he didn't do it, and a lot of growling from Taker, and he just says that he believes him. Taker looks at Ray, gives Ray the old throat cut, and then whips his line of sight directly to Kane. Taker is now choking Kane in the middle of the ring. Kane choking Taker right back. Kane getting the upper hand due to Taker's vegetative state recovery. Gets him up for a tombstone, and Kane connects. And Kane standing tall here at the end of his SummerSlam match. I'll give this a 1 count. I think Rey Mysterio and Kane work well together. I think Kane, for being a larger guy, can definitely move. There are bigger guys in 2020 now with enhanced workouts and different forms of kind of making yourself more agile in the ring that maybe there wasn't in 2010. But Kane was definitely ahead of his time as far as being able to be a big guy working with a smaller opponent. It was a little slow to go, kind of playing their roles though, but it picked up as it went along. A lot of unique offense from both men, but it was a good match. Video package shows SummerSlam Access, where the roster meets with fans and participates in community service ventures around Los Angeles. I love to see the WWE doing this because as much as we at PWO slam WWE for storylines or cutting people that they don't need to, for them to give back to the community this way is something is something to behold. Here we go. Hype package for the main event. Video shows the Nexus taking out various members of the WWE roster. Cena, though, John Cena, has quietly been putting together a team to take out the Nexus at SummerSlam. Showing cracks in the team he put together, Edge quits, Chris Jericho quits, and the Nexus take out the Great Khali, who has not been mentioned to this point, but was the 7th member. Edge and Jericho rejoin the team after the Nexus target them on an episode of Raw. So here we go. We have the Nexus, which is Wade Barrett, Darren Young, David Otunga, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, Michael Tarver, and Skip Sheffield. Taking on Team WWE, which is John Cena, Edge, R-Truth, Chris Jericho, John Morrison, Bret Hart, and The Miz. Nexus out first as one team. Commentary definitely making a big deal out of them coming out first as a unit. Team WWE out next one by one. Being as The Miz was named the 7th member of the team, he comes out last. As soon as his music hits, Cena cuts him off and said that he was way too late. they couldn't wait for his answer on the night of SummerSlam. So they already had found their 7th member. Cena in the most in the laziest way possible and with no drama built, he just says the 7th member of Team WWE is Daniel Bryan. Granted, the crowd pops for this, and he hasn't been seen since he choked Justin Roberts with his own tie when the Nexus first debuted. I'm going to react to this and then get to the match. What a tremendous waste of time. Okay? You give time in the middle of your 3-hour pay-per-view to the 7th member just to give his response, just to turn around to say screw you to the fans that bought into this. This is not a work. This is not a work. It's barely even a swerve. Why do this? Why? Okay. I can forgive the backstage segment with The Miz and Edge and Chris Jericho from earlier. You know, it was filler between matches. But to add in a 10-plus minute promo in the middle of one of the big 4 shows, just right smack dab in the middle of it, just for it to mean nothing, is unforgivable. Did you not have anything for The Miz to do? Did you not have anybody on the roster you could give him a 7 or 8 minute match for? Okay? You could have cut out any one of the previous matches other than the WWE Championship match or the World Heavyweight Championship match. You could have cut any one of those matches out and we would have been fine. You could have used The Miz a lot better here. But no, go ahead and waste our time. I'm sure that's exactly how you want to use up airtime on one of your 4 big pay-per-views of the year. Here we go with the match. Bryan marching to the ring as Team WWE storms the ring and attacks Team Nexus. WWE gets all members of Nexus out of the ring and the crowd is pumped. They are on fire for this. You see Nexus getting a pep talk from Wade Barrett. Bryan and Young starting out first. Fists are flying. Bryan a knee to the ribs and multiple kicks to the back of Darren Young. Bryan transitions from a guillotine to the label lock and makes Young tap out within the first minute of the match. It is 7-6 WWE. The crowd is nuclear hot right now. They are so ready for this. So Gabriel's in next. Bryan tags to Jericho. Jericho bringing the offense to Justin Gabriel, then tags in Truth. Truth hits a suplex stunner on Justin Gabriel for a near fall. Spin kick and a roundhouse kick, though, by Gabriel gives him the upper hand and tags in Michael Tarver. Tarver tries just running at Truth in the corner, gets feet to the face twice, and Truth tags in John Morrison. Morrison is a house of fire with kicks galore to Tarver. Morrison throws Tarver into the corner, hits Starship Pain, eliminates Tarver. Nuclear excitement now one step higher. WWE is up by 2. Skip Sheffield in next, locking up with John Morrison. Skip Sheffield, the future Ryback. Skip running his mouth. Morrison with a nasty slap to the face. Skip responds with a huge power slam. Sheffield taking control here with a number of suplexes. Skip whips him into the ropes. A kick to the back from Gabriel stuns Morrison. Skip Sheffield with a huge discus lariat pins and eliminates John Morrison. Nexus gets one back. It is 6-5 Team WWE. R-Truth steps right in and starts giving the hands to Sheffield. Sheffield with another huge discus lariat to R-Truth, getting the pin and his second elimination in a matter of moments. Talk about the crowd dying in an instant. We are tied at 5. Here we go. Got some fresh bodies now. Chris Jericho and Wade Barrett now in the ring. Barrett literally kicks Chris Jericho 3 times and then tags Otunga in. Scoop slam from Otunga, and he tags Wade Barrett back in. This is good tag team wrestling, though, if you think about it. You keep your team fresh while wearing down on the same opponent. Good strategy here by the Nexus. Wade Barrett whips Jericho into the corner, feet to the face of Barrett. Jericho up to the top, and a missile drop kick. Hot tags are coming. Heath Slater, and on the other side, Bret the Hitman Hart. I know that Jeff Hall is just excited for me to get to this portion of the review. Bret Hart unloading on Heath in the corner. Bret getting in his usual offensive knees. Not looking that bad, honestly. Atomic drop and a big right hand from Bret Hart. Now he's got a sharpshooter locked in. Wade Barrett slides a chair into the ring. While that happened, Heath tags Skip Sheffield in. Bret picks the chair up and hits Skip Sheffield in the stomach and across the back. The ref disqualifies Bret Hart, and he is livid. King is still very confused, even after it is explained to him why Bret Hart was eliminated. Commentary in 2020 for WWE. So now the Nexus has 3 straight eliminations. So they are up by 1, 5-4. Jericho in next, hits a code breaker on Skip Sheffield, tags in Edge, not wasting any time, hits a huge spear, gets the pin, and eliminates Skip Sheffield. We are back to even at 4 apiece. Justin Gabriel in next, running directly into the boot of Edge. Edge whips Gabriel into the corner. Gabriel gives him an elbow, comes right out of the corner into a flapjack. Near fall there from Edge. Huge crane kick from Justin Gabriel. Now in Ring of Honor as PJ Black. Gabriel does get a 2 count there. Heath gets the tag and immediately starts giving the boots to Edge. Wade Barrett gets the tag and gets right back to work. Barrett gets Edge into the corner, whips him into the other corner, followed by a huge backbreaker. Headlock here from Barrett. Edge gets to his feet and hits a big spinning heel kick. Both men are now to a vertical base. Edge going for an execution, but Wade Barrett reverses it into a big neck breaker. Big spot here from Wade Barrett. Otunga begging for the tag and gets it. David Otunga goes for a Uranagi, but Edge reverses it into an execution. Hot tag to Chris Jericho. Immediately hits a lion salt, locks in a very deep, if I may say so myself, walls of Jericho, and gets David Otunga to tap. Team WWE is now up 4-3. Chris Jericho taking the attack straight to the Nexus now. He shoulder tackles Heath Slater off the apron and throws him right back in. Jericho to the top rope and hits a back elbow. He then goes for a clothesline but accidentally knocks John Cena off of the apron. Heath hit a move and got the pin on Jericho. The move he hit, nobody knows because the camera was so focused on John Cena that it missed the move that eliminated Chris Jericho. But with that, we are tied at 3. Edge now jumps into the ring to replace him in the match, but so does Cena. They argue for a little bit back and forth. Edge slaps Cena in the chest, pushes him away. Cena backs off. Heath pushes Edge into John Cena, rolls up Edge to get the pin and the elimination. It is 3-2 Nexus. On the outside, Edge hits a huge spear on Cena, starting to get in his face. Jericho kicks Cena in the ribs, slaps him in the back of the head, and him and Edge walk away. Gabriel throws John Cena back into the ring, and Heath is now back on the attack. Wade Barrett gets the tag, and he is putting the fist to John Cena. Cena's down in the corner, trying to get back to a vertical base, but Barrett is just keeping him down. Barrett tags in Gabriel, gets Cena in a headlock, but he gets Justin Gabriel up for an attitude adjustment, but Gabriel counters for a DDT and a near fall. Justin Gabriel looking very, very strong in this match. Wade Barrett back in. Him and Cena now slugging it out. Barrett, though, with a huge sidewalk slam, goes for a suplex, but John Cena counters into one of his own. Cena desperately needs to tag in Daniel Bryan, but Slater gets the tag first and cuts Cena off. Slater with an Irish whip into the corner and a huge clothesline by John Cena. Slater now trying to prevent Cena from making the tag, holding onto his legs, trying to make sure it doesn't happen, but it does. Bryan with a super hot tag. Crowd pops for this. He is absolutely taking it to Slater. Bryan with a huge suicide dive on the outside to Heath. Back in the ring, Bryan hits Slater with a missile dropkick. Kicks Gabriel and Barrett off of the apron in the process. And it was a really cool spot here, though, because you have Gabriel on one side of the turnbuckle and Barrett on the other side of the turnbuckle, both on the apron. And he kind of kicks, but when he kicks, he just kicks and rolls back into the ring. But anyway, Heath Slater tries to roll Daniel Bryan up, but Bryan reverses it into a label lock and makes Heath Slater tap. We are tied at 2. As Barrett and Gabriel are deciding who's going to be in the match next, The Miz makes his triumphant return and hits Daniel Bryan with his Money in the Bank briefcase. Wade Barrett steps in, rolls Daniel Bryan up for the pin and the elimination. We are down to 1 member of Team WWE and 2 members of Team Nexus. All right, little bit of a refresh. John Cena is the only member left for Team WWE, while Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel are the only members left for Team Nexus. Barrett throws Cena back into the ring and tags in Justin Gabriel. Cena, though, hits the C, hits the comeback, going through his whole trope of moves, 5-knuckle shuffle, and connects. Gets Justin Gabriel up for an attitude adjustment, but Barrett tags himself in and starts beating down Cena. Barrett with a big boot, and Cena rolls out to the floor. This is where things get interesting. Justin Gabriel pulling up the floor mats, exposing the concrete on the outside. Wade Barrett hits a DDT on John Cena on the concrete floor. Let's think about that for a moment. A DDT onto the concrete floor. Anybody who is hit with a DDT on the concrete, and they're going to be out for a while. Keep that in mind. Barrett rolls Cena back into the ring, tags Justin Gabriel in. He goes for the 450 splash, but then activates Super Cena. Gabriel eats all of the 450. Cena quickly jumps on Justin Gabriel to get the 3 count. So now we are tied at 1. Whoever scores the next fall will win it for their team. Barrett comes in immediately. This isn't an over-exaggeration. Wade Barrett immediately gets caught in the STF, and John Cena makes him tap. And that is all she wrote. This is the match was good. It's going to get a 1 count. To be honest, I was on the fence about how to grade this, knowing what I did going into the match, because it didn't feel like a 35 minute match. It really didn't until the last couple of spots where it dragged on and felt like it was just forever. The match is fine as a Survivor Series tag style match. What I didn't like was the finish. Now, all of this is very well known at this point, but the Nexus were supposed to go over. Chris Jericho and Edge have stated that Cena was supposed to be eliminated very early in the match, and they were supposed to be the final two, both of whom would be eliminated by Wade Barrett. In one of the most idiotic, moronic decisions of recent memory and use of creative control, John Cena, who said that it would make him look weak, asked that the finish be changed to what it is today. I would have been fine. The match up to that point was fine. Just once the DDT is on Cena, roll him in, pin, fade to black. I honestly don't think a DDT to a concrete floor would make anyone look weak. Personally speaking, John Cena killed 7 careers and burnt WWE a ton of money with this decision. Despite the fact he has since said that he was wrong to change the finish, think about where we're at now, or even put yourself in 2010 and think about a year or two away from that and where we could have been in retrospect to where we ended up going. John Cena was wrong to change the finish. And like I said, even though he has admitted that he is wrong, he does not take responsibility for it. He still says that he doesn't make the decisions. And we all know that is 100% wrong. My final grade for SummerSlam 2010 is 1.5 out of 5 stars. The Ric Flair Award goes to Kane versus Rey Mysterio, and the Bella Award goes to Alicia Fox versus Melina. This was a pretty rough show to get through. The commentary team didn't make it any easier. Dolph Ziggler Kofi Kingston was used as a plot point for the main event. Melina Alicia Fox was pretty bad. The handicap match was predictable and boring. Randy Orton and Sheamus was fine. And I liked Kane and Mysterio better than I thought I would. The main event was fine, but the finish infuriated me. And nothing Cena can say now or ever can take back the decision he made and the careers and the futures he killed. Those are my thoughts on WWE SummerSlam 2010. What did you all think of the show? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you have a suggestion for a pay-per-view card for me to review, also leave it in the comments below. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Podcast World Order for more incredible content. We are live on Facebook and YouTube every Monday and Thursday, and a new episode of Referee's Discretion will be posted every week. On our next episode, you know what? I really missed ECW. I wish the old ECW was back. I know WWE put on their one-night stand pay-per-views in 2005 and 2006, but I'm sure TNA did one, right? Yeah, they did a reunion show of sorts in 2010. Why not? So next week, I'll be taking a look at TNA Hardcore Justice 2010. Fun fact, oddly enough, Hardcore Justice took place a week before SummerSlam 2010. Anyway, from everyone here at Podcast World Order, thank you for watching, and remember, at the end of the day, it's referee's discretion. I'm Cod Sinclair, and we'll see you next time.